Hey everybody, it is Justin, your guide into the Forgotten Runiverse, and I wanted to talk today about my favorite aspect of the game outside of just gameplay, right? And I really think that this is a pretty big trend that is coming to the gaming industry as a whole, like the concept of game ownership. But, you know, here we kind of have a picture from Bear, where he's at the consensus panel, and he had the Forgotten Runiverse game demo booth out at the convention, so that was pretty sick to see. But before we get into the white paper, what I wanted to break down was some context from what we're seeing in the traditional Web 2 business models of gaming right now. We know we're all familiar with the cosmetic business model that, say League of Legends does employ. So we had a post from Garga. I am following him. Twitter's just bugged. League of Legends is now offering a bundle of cosmetic skins for $500. Reddit is, as you would expect, a big fan. And this is the signature immortalized legend collection with like Ari. I think there's a bunch of Ari skins inside of here. There's a lot of stuff in here. I think it's all Faker skins, but basically, what I wanted to go over was, as a League of Legends player, no question, I have no question in my mind that this will sell massive numbers on the board. But the big thing is, it's like, if only you could actually own these. But again, as we already know, I think there's also a Steam post where it said, if you die, your games die with you. So that was really funny to see as well. And honestly, I just wanted to bring it into the context of the Runiverse because it's a little bit different in Web3. You tend to have to own your stuff on a blockchain outside of just, actually playing the game and, being able to do it yourself. So I'm at the section of the white paper. I forgot which page. This is on page 37. But this kind of talks about game ownership in the Runiverse. That's honestly what I'm most excited for with regards to trends in Web3. A lot of game ownership is going to align more people towards, value accrual and, really building and having a place inside of the game. But why don't we just break it down in the words of the white paper here? So, Forgotten Runiverse uses blockchain technology as a way to enhance the traditional MMORPG player experience. So, again, it's like, we know there's going to be a land mint, before the next playtest, right? And like that idea of having your own piece of an MMORPG with like a static map, that's pretty wild in my opinion. It's not like you could own like a piece of a Skyrim map, and it's like, that's the map. It's like, this is probably a big trend that's going to continue, and provide players with additional value by allowing them true ownership of the things that they create in the game. So again, that kind of includes like your resources, your items, your mounts, your skins, etc., etc. Basically you own that stuff in game. So again, by allowing players to mint anything in game to the blockchain, incentivizing landowners to enhance their land to improve their returns, we aim to develop a true create to earn economy where the more value a player adds to the community, the more value a player will earn for themselves. So all the in-game assets, material resources, currencies as gold, and in-game crafted items are not on-chain by default, and that's for a good reason. You want people to just have a good experience playing the Runiverse game, and provide them an option, to mint it if they want to trade it at some point in the future. So the minting process allows the player to store their belongings to the mainnet as an NFT where they can be traded, displayed, and allows for eventual interoperability with other projects or future projects by Bisonic and Magic Machine. So as users create or learn the value of true ownership, we expect them to naturally onboard to the creation of their own wallet. So the most efficient and rewarding way for a player to play Forgotten Runiverse will be a necessity for them to play on-chain by minting and trading items on the Ethereum network. So again, that kind of pertains to, we'll get into that in just a second, like crafting. I have a blog post open kind of going over crafting and how that will kind of function with game ownership. But basically, if you own all your stuff, you can trade it with other people on a mainnet on a layer 2, of course, which minimizes gas fees. So in this way, we expect to be able to more easily scale the user base of Forgotten Runiverse, while also acting as an important step for millions of players to blockchain technology. So, in my opinion, I think it provides a lot more alignment with people who are already playing the game. So, just in regards to crafting in the Forgotten Runiverse, I may have done this video on this in the past, but it's always good to kind of go over it again. Crafting, honestly, when you are playing the game, you need two things essentially. You need to basically harvest all your resources from monsters. And then you also need to get the recipes at some point. And then you also need to combine those, monster resources with your resources that you mine out of the ground, you cut down from trees, etc., etc. So, again, every item you create is unique and can be minted to the blockchain, right? I should probably zoom in just a tiny bit, yeah. So read on to learn a bit about how crafting will work in the full game. So as always, the game is in development, while the below lays out our current plans. Game design and art are subject to change. So again, this is in the blog section of the Forgotten Runiverse website. I will link that in the description if you want to take a look at the blog posts. But basically, acquiring resources. So, again, resources are going to be something that you'll be able to trade as well, I believe. And that's going to be really important, especially if you are collecting things like iron, oak, smoky quartz, right? And they have different affixes and favorite stats and all that stuff that's kind of outlined here that may be subject to just change. Damn, this guy's got a lot of money. But basically, the inputs you use and the tools you'll use to compute your formula will define the output. For crafting in the Forgotten Runiverse, the inputs you'll need are a recipe, number 1, number 2, a crafting building, currency, and materials, both physical and spiritual, as well as potential mana. So those are the resources you get from harvesting these resources as well as killing monsters. So use a recipe and crafting buildings as your tools, along with your character's skill or level to combine those materials and create your unique output. So again, unique outputs are very important because the stuff that you craft. I hope there's an image over here, but basically the stuff that you craft are going to have different affixes, right? If you're familiar with things like Path of Exile or any ARPG, those things are pretty critical for you to kind of get a specific build type down, especially if you're building like an assassin build or a tank build, etc., etc. And basically, this basically goes over the first part is gathering resources, and again, it kind of goes over the basic types of materials. You need physical materials from the world and spiritual materials gathered from inhabitants, aka killing monsters. So everything you craft requires at least one physical and one spiritual. So it's kind of important that you get both. It kind of goes over some materials here in your inventory, but again, physical materials come in two categories: common and rare. Each material is linked to a certain wizard color, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily know this, so that's probably important at some point. It has unique impacts on crafting, forging, and enchanting. So common materials can be easily found on player-owned plots, and examples of common materials are redwood, copper, limestone, etc., etc. And metals can be converted into stronger alloys in an upgraded forge. So again, a lot of these buildings can actually be built out on the plots within the game ownership section of the game, where it's like you own your NFTs, you own your land, you own all that stuff inside of the economy. It's going to be important to put these all together. So the best way to harvest common materials is to build a gathering station. Gathering stations are probably going to be pretty common on your plot to uncover the treasures hidden below the surface. And again, when you mint a plot, I believe inside of the white paper, I actually don't want to scroll through this white paper because it's going to lag my computer because it's like 49 pages. But basically, each plot will have a specific distribution of these types of resources outlined here. And it's going to depend on your location within the Runiverse itself. So just to kind of recap, that's a pretty exciting thing for me in particular, because it's like, damn, can you actually own a piece of an MMORPG that generates resources? Again, it's kind of, oh man, I don't even know how to explain it, but basically we're just going through the blog here so you can break it down. So, again, common materials in the wild are harder to come by because they don't have a precise spawn pattern. So again, it's going to be imperative if you want to craft specific items or get perfect affixes, and perfect affixes are when an item comes out perfect in a specific recipe, and then you can use it much more easily inside of a particular build that you have for your play style. But basically, common materials, if you don't have a land plot, then you'll have to go out and find it inside of the Runiverse map. And I do believe it's somewhere here in the Runiverse Twitter page, but we're just gonna keep it relegated to the blog until we get to that part of the video. So rare materials, on the other hand, can only be found in the wild. So again, there are specific loops of which you'll need to utilize to kind of find rare materials. You have to go harvest them yourself. And there are shared gathering stations throughout the world specific to each of the 6 types of the physical materials. So basically, they're all right here, and you can find it all here. There's different colors: red, brown, yellow, green, blue, purple, and white. It kind of goes over things such as, the columns here, such as wood, metal, stone, gems, fabric, and elements. And again, metals can also be converted into stronger alloys and upgraded forge. So these are going to be important as we see more builds with different types of recipes for different types of build paths. And, if you're familiar with any ARPG like Diablo or Path of Exile, then specific playstyles and builds, which is of great importance to an MMORPG. So, again, it kind of goes over things like spiritual materials as well. And they kind of correlate to the families of enemies you'll come across, and you'll have a chance to drop a spiritual material. But essentially, at the end of the day, once you have a specific build, you'll be able to recycle them at a particular temple, right? And this allows you to sacrifice a lot of your stuff for mana. And mana is a premium resource that you can use to enchant and possibly, kind of influence crafting in your favor to, roll more perfect items, right? So again, it can be acquired by destroying a creative item at a temple and releasing the magic within. So again, it kind of goes over things like crafting new items and infusing them with mana to improve the odds of a good outcome. So they kind of go over recipes here. There are also recipes of which you'll have to go out and find, and then you'll be able to use them at forges to build specific equipments, ateliers for furniture, which you'll also be able to own, inside of your land plot for your homestead, and then also workshops if you're building specific types of magic crystals that you will need to get different types of spells and magic. So, they kind of go over things like that in here, as well as the workshop. And, they're kind of going over the forges as well and how they're going to be upgraded over time to, build better and more epic stuff. But there's also more images such as, different colors of forges, ateliers, and workshops. These are the yellow ones here too. But basically, it kind of goes over everything like, game ownership, recipes, and, building things out such as, all of that stuff. But that's just kind of wanted to go over. Like, honestly, the most exciting thing for me is actually in-game ownership, especially if you decide to spend a lot of time inside of an MMORPG, because that's a pretty big thing for a lot of people. The emotional connection is why people spend this much of money on, cosmetics and skins. But in the context of, like, an actual economy inside of a blockchain Web3 game, it tends to be a lot more powerful just because of economies and trading. But basically, if you guys want to know more, I would highly suggest that you take a look at the media tab of the Forgotten Runiverse, because if you want to learn about all the information and the updates, this kind of goes through what they're currently working on and, just sneak peeks of what's coming, usually with a couple months of lag, especially with regards to a lot of the builds. So there's a lot of alpha pretty deep inside of these media pages. I remember, I'm actually probably not going to be able to find it because they have so many pictures in here. But I remember them talking about a couple of things with regards to cities, dungeons, how big the world is. I'm also excited for the open world when that eventually comes out in a specific build. Because the Runiverse is so big, our level designers had to work on it in chunks. Each chunk is about the size of the world in Zelda, A Link to the Past. The gray dividing lines you see here shows you'll experience music transitions as you travel between regions. So again, I do believe this is like gigantic. It's gigantic, guys. The map of the Runiverse is massive, and there's so much alpha inside of these. I'm really looking for a section here where it kind of breaks down. Yeah, here. This is where I wanted to talk about. So in the first map, essentially, well, not the next build. The next build's gonna have, I believe it will have the blue wizard bastion. But each wizard this is from September 29th. So basically of 2022. So it's been a while. So each wizard capital is influenced by the wizard sect values. We're starting with the greens, yellows, reds, and blues. To create each city, we start with a unique gem cut and values to create a city layout and aesthetic elements. So each city and each different portion of the Runiverse is going to have a different type of aesthetic, right? Different colors, different, mock-ups. And of course, this is like from a long time ago. So, a lot of these things are probably built out now. So again, that's just kind of wanted to go over. Like, there's a lot of alpha inside of the previous, post that may or may not be subject to change, of course. But again, just regards to the art, I just love seeing all of the things with regards to updates and, I guess, game progression, just building in public. Honestly, pretty sick. I love this art piece of the yellow wizard capital. Pretty epic, pretty epic. So again, that's just kind of wanted to go over. I wanted to go over a little bit of owning your stuff inside of the Runiverse, as well as how to get that stuff from crafting and, I guess, having your land plat. But essentially, I'm excited for the future of the Forgotten Runiverse. You guys know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button. I will have all the links in the description below, and you can see for yourself. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the Runiverse. Peace.